people of YouTube, howdy. Today we're talking about fuel filters in your Jeep Cherokee, or really any vehicle, but today it's how to do it on your Jeep Cherokee. And to do that, first thing we have to do is reach down there, pop the hood latch. Second thing we have to do is open up the gas tank and take the lid off, and then we crawl under the car. Also, buy a new fuel filter. Now we're in the engine bay, and the reason we are coming up here is this little nozzle is your fuel pressure line nipple. I don't know what the scientists call it, but what you're going to do is depressurize, and just something that can reach in here, and you should get a good amount of gas. And you're gonna want to soak that all up so nothing catches on fire. Shouldn't be a whole lot of gas, just a little bit. And once it's all out, your system's depressurized. Well, now that we have our fuel system depressurizing, let's open up our box, show you everything that should come inside. Now, of everything that comes with it, these are the two clamps that we'll possibly be reusing, or probably be using. We might be reusing the other ones. We'll see what condition they're in. But this end cap is what we're going to do to prevent as much fuel from leaking out onto the ground as possible. Now, what fuel we can't, I've got this with some paper towels, just some shop rags, inside of it. Now, this is just a cat litter collection box, not collection box. It comes with cat litter. I chopped it off super smoothly. Now, we've got this. Let's go match it up, make sure it's the correct one. Do note it has a forward arrow, and that means going to the front of the vehicle, or the motion of travel the fuel will be going in. So from your tank to the engine, so to the front. And this is a Wix filter 33486 from O'Reilly's. They pretty much always carry them in stock at shop. Don't have to special order them or nothing. Now we're under the vehicle, and this should be where all your Jeep Cherokee fuel filters are located. It's right here, and as you can see in comparison, mine is most likely the original, as it is quite corroded and dirty. So that does seem to match up size and shape wise. And so you have your output and your input valves, what appears to be a 10 mil, and they appear to be on mine with a small flat head on both sides. We've got our bucket in position down here. So let's go get a 10 mil and that flathead. Now we're under our vehicle. We've got our 10 mil ratchet. So we're gonna undo. Okay, that is an 11 mil ratchet. Be right back with the 10 mil. All right, now we've got our 10 mil. Now that we've got that out, this little bracket should come out. And then what you want to have ready at this point in time is your fuel filter nearby and uncapped, and the caps that it had, because we're going to undo this rear one first and put the cap that came on the new one in to try and prevent as much fuel leak as possible. Also, I am wearing goggles because gasoline in your eyes is not fun. Now, do your best not to bend any of the fuel lines, even if they should theoretically bend. At this age, the smallest bend could cause a leak. As you can see, this free float nut is what is stopping us here. So now that we have both these front and the rear loosened up, we are going to attempt to pull that out, put this in the back. Whichever one this doesn't come out, remember, if you pull the front one off, you're going to want to take this off of here, put it onto there, to prevent as much fuel leaking out of the gas tank onto the ground, because there's way more fuel in your gas tank than there is in the line going towards your engine. Well, I'm not incorrect. There should be more fuel in your fuel tank than your fuel lines, Your fuel tank, since it's not engaged, the pump won't be pushing any fuel out, and there really won't be much fuel in the line between the filter and the tank. However, nature abhors a vacuum, and all of the fuel that is in the lines between the filter and there, going up to the engine block, will readily pour out, and there's quite a bit of fuel in the fuel filter. As you can see right now, I probably should have put that end cap on the fuel filter that had previously been used, as there wasn't really any fuel coming out from the tank side.
Oofta. Alright, now, I don't know if you saw, but I just got doused in gasoline, and dirty gasoline, which is why we're doing this replacement.
I cannot recommend enough that you should attempt to twist the fuel filter out of the fuel lines. Be very careful when you're using the forward line, as it is a physically hard line, and if you crack or bend that just too much, it will be a pain to replace, as you can't just simply replace one small part. It has to go all the way to the front. Second, I really would check for a second end cap, or simply use the only one you were given to to close off the end piece on the fuel filter that is old, as it has so much fuel in it, and that stuff is gross and smelly. Being stuck under a car on a hot day with it is not fun.
Gotta be honest, I thought that'd be a lot easier. Be sure not to let any gasoline soak into your skin or orifices. It evaporates quickly, but nonetheless, not good for you. Now, we've got this out, and look at how gross all that old fuel is. All that stuff, that's all stuff that would have gone into your engine. The rust just from the tank, the production, and if you buy cheaper fuel, just all that gunk. And I can only imagine what's actually still in there. But we do need this little bit of hose. Now that we have the old fuel filter completely disconnected, I'm going to prepare the connection hose between the hard line and the soft line, attempting to place them in the most advantageous spot. I'm going to slip this hose back onto the hard line. Easier said than done. You're going to back this clamp, the provided clamp, down the hose to make it easier to put the nipple into the hose. And so, I don't know, fuel might pop out of this or not. Now I've got it seated here. I want to get it closer, more properly seated in the front there. It's all the way seated in the back. We can bring this hose around, tighten that back hose up. Oh wait, if you need to move the bucket at this point, there shouldn't be any fuel pouring out unless something goes catastrophically wrong. I don't know, might not be a word. Yes, I did just graduate from college. No, I am not educated. So, tighten these all up, and then we'll meet back up top. Okay? Alright, now that we've got everything back together, we've got the new fuel filter in, we've got the clamps tightened down, and the clamp that holds the fuel filter into position tightened down. What we want to do is we want to go ahead and make sure we've got the gas cap closed up, nice and secure, how many clicks it says. You want to go back up to the front and the fuel line, make sure you have that cap closed up. Then you want to come into the engine and you want to prime your ignition, which means to click it over 2 positions, so where you hear the fuel pump kick on. You want to do that 2 or 3 times to push fuel through the system. And before you go and start it on the 3rd or 4th time, you want to get out. You want to check to make sure that there's no fuel leaking out of that system now that you've pressurized it. And if you've got no system leaks, You can fire that car up.
Idle was a bit rougher than it normally is, or higher on the RPMs, and I would say that's probably because the old fuel filter was not filtering really anything at this moment, and so it started about 1,000 and now it's dropped down to about 800, and I would say that's probably a far better place for this fuel filter to be, and I bet it'll drop even more once the filter breaks in a bit after the first some miles driving.
Well, thanks for coming along. I did end up having to go back down there and tighten up the front fitting. There was a little bit of fuel leaking out after the first test run, and that's why we do test runs. So I tightened that up 2 cranks, turned it back on, fuel leak completely stopped. So that's just the sort of thing you're gonna have to make sure you try before you just go out on a highway run. Now, remember to throw away your fuel filter at properly designated waste dumps, not just your normal garbage. It can be pretty toxic, bad for the environment. Thanks for coming along. Follow me on Instagram at SomeGuyInstaPage. Like, subscribe, comment. Let me know if you have any other thoughts, questions, future projects. Remember, if some guy can do it.